What does Grady Booch say about the evolution of software architecture? Let's see what he has to say. Hey, I'm Chris Athanas. We're gonna finish up with I think part 5. I think I'm persisting to part 5. With tech sports coming out. With the Grady Booch talking about software architectures, and I'm calling out some of his claims, and they need to be demonstrated because they're very bold claims that anything one of these things is like sci-fi out of crazy land, and if he has solved this technologies, we should be seeing these things, right? Just demonstrate, just like we tried to do with the UML, but didn't quite work out. And then everything else he's came up with just didn't quite work out, and his teams have been fired. Everyone had to go someplace, get another job someplace but not for him because he's a IBM fellow, so he's been spared these harsh spankings of life, saying, "Hey, no, that's not a thing. That wasn't a thing." And it's like he just has the ability to skate through. His guys is really props to the game. Props to the player. He's a good player of the game. So I give him props, but I also get to call it out. So where other people are just like, "Oh wow, it's good, Grady Booch, Grady Booch." He invented fancy lines and boxes. Ooh. Okay, let's go start here.
Say politely. If I'm going to be impolite, I will say they allow us to build at global scale bullshit generators because they.
Yeah, he's talking about LLMs. He's like in the LLM section. And boy, for someone who's been a bullshit generator, he would know. He would know. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I got 4 parts before this last part where I go into detail about the bullshit that he's generating. All right, let's keep going.
They are stochastic parrots. They do not reason. They do not understand. But
correct. That's a neural network. That's correct. They do not reason. They do not understand. That's not how it works. That's not how these things work. Correct, Booch.
But they do produce some very coherent results because they allow us.
At times, yes. That needs to be checked for much more thoroughly than it's been allowed to. Just can't just bullshit your way through everything. It's like, no, you gotta check. Okay, you already got us on that first part. Yeah, you got us fooled pretty good. You're very, very, very bold with your answers, and all the LLMs were just renew everything until you checked them about stuff that you actually knew. And they're like, no, you're right. There's a thing in their thing, and the thing, and the thing, and then they would do another bold thing. He's like, no, that's not how that thing was there at the time a thing had happened. And then the guy said, well, no, you're right. And it's like such a bullshit generator. It's like, come on now.
To navigate a latent space that has been made very complex through training it through the corpus of the internet. So that, I think, is back.
The corpus of the internet. Nice. Just run the data on the internet through their thing. No wonder it's so crazy.
To the perfect storm. We have large language models based upon data and the algorithms and the hardware that allow us to build these coherent kinds of things. But again, we have to be careful. Gary Marcus and I have been voracious and consistent critics of Sam and others who are saying we're just on the cusp of AGI. Well,
okay, thank you. Okay, Booch, all right. Okay. Whatever I said to him before, the fact that he's in Sam's ear saying, "Hey, man, you got to cool with this hype wave, or you're about to get somebody hung with this stuff. Because if you go too far with it, and let this thing actually, if you've told people what this thing is, and he has some experience of maybe overhyping something a little bit, and he has some experience like, hey, don't do this."
Well, I think that diminishes the elegance of what AGI actually is within our humans. It diminishes what the beauty of what our human intelligence.
Of our human intelligence, right? Our human intelligence, yes, it's a magical, mysterious thing. And, some of us got lucky with a certain gene expression that allows us to go down this space more than others. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing that makes up humanity. Just our intelligence. That's where these sprout spurgs, because it's the one tool that they're using to get them through life. And I appreciate it. They've got good mastery of it, but it's not the only thing that makes humans human, is this ability to reason. Okay, that's why I got to take issue with some of these guys. It's just like, that's not the only thing, man. There's much more to being human, much more silly, goofy, don't make any sense, has nothing to do with reason, kind of brutal at times, a little ugly at times, a little bit nasty at times, a little selfish at times. That's human.
And frankly, we're not going to get there by scaling. We've already seen we're hitting limitations.
Yeah, we hit the S
Elon,
part,
whom I've gotten into as well on the internet a number of times.
But they got companies, man. They're not IBM fellows like you. They have still places to go, people to see. They got empires to build. You already built your empire. You have a wall, a moat that doesn't allow anybody to touch you. You're completely untouchable there. Why? You made it, buddy, but they haven't done it yet. They haven't gone what you went through. You went through, remember the UML The fiasco where you told everything's to be UML and everything. Oh, you just describe it like this, you can generate source code. Everyone that's like, oh my god, we can get rid of the developers. Remember that part? Remember when you talked about that?
His particular views of the world on AGI. He's been promising full self-driving for years now. We're not going to get there because
you promised UML diagrams will give you a code, a way to scale your operations of your problems. Oh, what? Game recognized game. Player recognized a player.
those kinds of models are simply, they're the wrong architecture. If I've got to build a nuclear power plant to build my systems, I'm probably doing the wrong architecture. And so, yes, I think there are valid use cases for large language models, but we have to be careful because they are indeed dangerous. Jan
Oh, you mean somebody might take it beyond what it was intended for? In the use cases it wasn't intended for, and because it was like halfway, 60% does it, 25% does it, most of the bullshits its way through it. It allows you to put your price of stocks to pump, and the value of the little cards and little spreadsheet, hyper fast spreadsheet machines that do all the machines, all the calculations in parallel. Ooh, that makes the stock price go to the moon and actually saves our economy. You need that stuff?
Blocked me on Twitter because at the very beginning of their work, Galactica, I called him out on it and said, Jan, this is great stuff, but do you realize the implications? And he simply dismissed them. And I kept calling him out.
Of course he did, because he knows, man. These people all know, and they don't appreciate you with a little bit of clout, bringing your name into the game, bringing another game in town, another sheriff in town. They don't appreciate you getting in the middle of their grift, man. They got a good thing going, buddy. Remember when you had a good thing going, IBM fellow?
He got tired of me doing so and eventually blocked me. But this is another I told you so. We have seen the joys and the dangers of large language models.
So just to double click on this, it sounds
We ain't seen the dangers yet. We've seen the joys. Oh yeah, the joys. We've seen the pain in the ass of it. We've seen the dicking around saying, "Are you sure that this was really as good as you say it is?" Because you, Devin, the code programmer for $2,000 a month will rent you out. Can't seem to get even the most basic shit working without a tremendous amount of human interaction. That honestly would have been faster for me to do it myself. Now, don't get me wrong, I love it for the little code completions and syntaxing and all that stuff, and giving you the skeleton where you have to go. It's pretty good with that. Like I've been like the Copilot, but it's not gonna write my whole app.
you're saying that large language models by themselves will not get us to AGI, but do I understand that if we combine it with other tools like neural nets or neural symbiotic systems, we can
It's all neural nets.
actually get closer to these intelligent systems?
No.
And if we take this example that you just said, a robot on Mars that is able to clear filters and follow
Yeah, do we have you demonstrated? That's what I'm saying. Hey, I would be more of a dick. Right? That's why I'm never going to interview these people, because I'm a dead of a dick. But he's been a super nice guy. He's like, oh, the robot with the filters. It's like, have we had that demonstrated? Have you had that demonstrated? I see these humanoid robots that fall over, the dog ones that have to be charged every 20 minutes. Because it's just long enough for the demo.
instructions. What do you think we would need to get to that type of intelligence?
He says he's got it. No, Booch says he had it. Booch says he worked with NASA. Booch says he got all these things implemented. He had it all completed up in a light little bow. It's just waiting there for someone to come along and he uses neural network symbolic interpolator.
And I even add to this, if you look at cultures such as Japan, where you have an aging population, a shrinking population.
Yes, they have lots of problems. Yes, we got the same problems here in America. It's the same stuff. It's going to be the same place. We're having the same issues all around the planet because we're trying to take humans out of the loop. When you take humans out of the loop and threaten them and tell all these big corporations that we're going to be able to take humans out of the loop with these AIs, you wonder why people aren't real interested in getting involved with bring kids to this world. You'd think they would be bringing all those. Oh, this is great. No jobs, no future. Can't get work. Can't afford a house. Oh, it's a great place to bring kids into. Let's bring some kids into that. That sounds like a good idea, Booch.
This need for elder care. And so the robotic use case, and not just the full humanoid robotic use case, comes into play. There are clear and present needs for these kinds of things as well, too.
No shit, Dick Tracy. Yeah, there's been a need for them for a long time. What are you talking about? For the entire history of mankind, this has been a problem. Where we need more people laboring than we have humans available. Slavery come to mind, those thousands of years of that shit that still continues to this day. They just come and call it something else. No. Oh, okay.
So yes, there are lots of great use cases So I've always believed this to be a systems engineering
Yeah,
problem,
great use
which is why if you
cases
go
of replacing all the humans.
back to the architecture itself, that's why I've been focused upon neurosymbolic systems.
What the fuck is a neural symbolic system, Booch?
Now, let me get a little philosophical for the moment. I'm pretty sure you're sentient. I can't guarantee it, but
Booch, stop with the philosophy department. Graduate already. That's sophist. This is sophistry. I don't know if you're sentient, but I am. Stop with that shit.
I'm just guessing that you are,
I'm just guessing you are. I'm a sophomore in college.
and you're not some amazing large language
Dude!
model. And why
That's
do
a
I
fair
think
guess.
that? It's a fair guess. And
Dude, stop.
why do I believe that? It's because I have a theory of mind about you that through multimodal ways in my interactions with you,
God,
I
the
have a
theory of
theory
mind stuff. That's still not explaining where consciousness comes from, or how we reason, or how we come to these things, and what makes us human, Booch.
that says you're sentient. You're someone who has its own
Booch.
agency, who has your own feelings and behaviors and needs and the like. And that's cool. You're not a robot. And so the human
Oh
mind
my
has evolved over
God.
millennium to develop that through an architecture that, yes, it's neural in nature, but on the one hand, artificial neurons are not a shadow, they're an echo of a whisper
Artificial neurons?
of what organic neurons are.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right. Now you're talking some sense. Now you're making some sense. Organic neurons, even though that's the hardware structure of it, that's still not where consciousness comes from. I know. It's just a sense organ. It's hard to understand this. It's like, because these guys with the autism, they really want it to be there, but it's not there.
They are a small piece of it. Furthermore, if you look at the
Right.
architecture
The
of large language
smallest
models, which, as
piece.
you observed, are relatively simple, they're
Just like the radio is the smallest piece of a radio transmitter system that has a band and and an announcer and a TV recording editing studio and people that run all that stuff. Yeah, the receiver is going to be way different than all that other stuff on the transmitting side.
there's a simple layering to them which ignores the exquisite complexity of the human mind.
Yeah, it's not exquisite. Yes, the receiver is good, but that's not where consciousness lives. I know we want it to be there. I know all these materialist guys, science guys want it to be there, but it ain't there. They've been looking for a long time. If it was there, we'd already know it to be there. It's not there.
We have in our cerebral
We can study it all day long. We can study the structures of a city all day long, but the people who live in that city and work in that city are not, the city is not them. They're in there doing stuff, but the city is not them. It's a part of them. It's their creation, but it's not them.
cortex, cortical columns. We have tens of millions of them. They're in humans about 7 layers deep. Reptiles have them as well too. They're a bit smaller. Those are the ones that appear to be the place our homunculus work, where we build the predictive models of the world.
Oh, is that how we? Is that where they're made? Are you sure? How do you know this? How do you know that predictive models are made there? Are you talking about we're cutting these animals open and making see if they predict predictions or not? Or are you talking about humans that have brain damage? Is there some studies with that? Or is it predictive models really comes from something else? Like what do you want to have in this life? What are your goals? Is it just eating, screwing, pooping? I mean, is that all we are, or is there something more going on here? That humans have this other thing going on here. There seems to be more than animals, but also the same as.
We also have places where emotions and other decision making take place.
Are you sure that's where they take place, or is it just all over Isn't it just all over the brain? Isn't it in your body as well? It's not just up here. So this is where this Descartes had this split right here. A Descartes split. They tried to split the mind and the body right here. There's no split. There's no Cartesian split. It's all one thing. In fact, the brain isn't in here. It goes on to all the neurons and all the nerves that go through all the body, through all the way out to the edges. It's all the brain. What are you talking about, Booch?
Among these entangled architectures associated with the thalamus and the like. And furthermore, we have other things going on with it appears to be our hormonal system. It appears to be
the hormonal system, huh? I wonder if Booch has done acid before, or DMT, or ayahuasca, or mushrooms, or salvia divinorum, or some other like C2B. I wonder if he's trying that stuff, because it's not what the consciousness does not live in our brains. It's like something else. It comes from somewhere else that I don't think we're allowed to know where that comes from. I don't think you can actually scientifically detect it or figure it out by dissecting down to the little, cutting it open like a radio, like trying to find the announcer.
Other ways of message passing within our neural networks. So in that same regard, large language
messages passed all over. What are you talking about, man? Dude,
models are interesting, but they also are a whisper of a shadow of, I think, what reality is. And so,
Okay, fair. Okay, that's that. I agree with that, Booch. So maybe he has done acid before. Okay, it's a whisper of a shadow. Yes, exactly. But but Booch, it's not still not on the hardware of this thing. I know we want it to be. We so want it to be, right? Because it really seems like it is. It's like, where else could it be? Well, maybe we're not allowed to know where it comes from.
So where the next level is, and Gary and I have observed, we're reaching diminishing returns on what scale can do. The OpenAI folks and Elon believe scale will continue for a long, long time. Gary and I are saying, no, we're reaching a limit there. You need to think about it in other ways. That brings us back to those architectures. The last thing I'll mention is at the very beginning, we talked about me being
I
involved
don't
in
know what
embodied
that
formation.
means.
That brings me back to my roots again. What is embodiment? It's building systems that are in and of the world, that respond to the world and act in the world. Large language models are large
For service to humans. Not just acting in the world, being in the world. What's that? So what? There's all kinds of stuff. But the Booch, you're missing the human part, man. I just don't hear you talking about how we're solving problems for people. We're solving problems of NASA, the Defense Department, but are we solving problems that people have? Like real people, not astronauts with robots need to change filters. No real problems here on Earth. Like there's a lot of problems on Earth, fellow IBM.
Unimodal. They work through text, maybe static images woven together through video and the like. But
yeah, that's the input output. Yes, that's the current thing that people all got excited about. They got funding, so they can be a fellow at IBM.
But they're very sensory sparse. Our minds and our intelligence have grown because they've been embodied in the world. In that regard, I think there are many kinds of intelligence.
Yes, we have a completely different thing that allows us to create LLMs. Then when the day the LLM can create itself, I'll be like, whoa, wow, okay, that's amazing. But actually from scratch, with all the computers, the chips, all this stuff, man, not just the same source code. That doesn't make any sense.
That exist, but our human intelligence grew because of our embodiment, and it's going to require some fairly complex
right, being human in the world in this crazy place with all the nutty stuff that nature does, is all the incoherent stuff, and this hardware that was meant for eating berries and living in a cave, groups of about 200 people. You're really juicing the shit out of what we're capable of with this reasoning thing. You're like, ring.
Architecture to get that. That's why
we're really just like, we like to dance in the forest and naked and play around and pick berries and laze around all day until we gotta go do something every once in a while. We like to hunt. We do like to hunt in groups. You and your buddies going through, sticking a pig and then bringing it back and having pork sandwiches. Oh yeah.
I've been studying human architectures for 6 years because
that's what we're for. That's what we decided to do. Not figuring out puzzles all day and Rubik's cubes, record time, blindfolded backwards.
I don't know enough about them. Let's see if that influences the way I build software architectures.
And as closing, you previously tweeted something really interesting around this, and I'll quote this. You tweeted, "We need a standard way of visualizing the architecture as well as the activity of LLM and to generalize any artificial neural network." Sort of a UML.
Yes, we definitely need to have some visual. What is this thing doing? How's it work? Well, that's just it. They don't fucking know. We don't know how this thing's putting it all together. We're just throwing numbers at the thing and it's just put this thing in and puts that out. We don't know how those things are put together. The weights, even just on a numbers analyzer, like a 3x3 or 5x5 grid of a number analyzer, it's still like, we don't understand this stuff. And we get layers of layers of layers of layers. That's the whole point. It's all in there.
For AI. Now, this was a year back. Have you seen anything happen here? And why do you think?
No, it's because it's not that kind of reasoning. It's not that thing. It's not that kind of thing, man. You're not going to get there with this current LLM stuff. You're going to have to do something else, some other breakthrough. Somebody else is going to have to step forward. That's not going to be stuck in some proprietary company that's already figured this out. And they've been tapped by the government saying, no, you can't release that. Now, think about it if they actually were able to release a human level agent. Don't you think there might be a big problem when they could just multiply human intelligence on a server farm? Don't you think that some state governments might want to state level governments might want to get involved with that first before they let somebody else have for $20 a month for their code generation project? Come on now, think it through.
I think LLM architecture is so important.
In fact, I have seen both. I have both thoughts, and I have seen movement. So internally, I've been helping out with providing a little bit of architectural adult supervision in our large language model work, and I've been trying to figure out what's the way to visualize the kinds of things we're doing. Turns out it's still very UML-like. That these are now boxes that are systems unto themselves, and they're.
I wonder why he's bringing UML back. He's just still gonna push that freaking UML. You just won't let it go.
Passing systems along the way. So I'm trying to figure out the best ways to do that. As you may know, just this week, AlphaFold released its source code and weights publicly. So I'm jumping on that, and I'm going to use that as a basis of, can I describe the architecture of AlphaFold 3 using some UML delivery? So stay tuned. I think there's work to be done in that regard.
And what advice would you have for software engineers who are just starting out the software industry?
Can't let the UML stuff go. Okay, but
There's plenty of reasons.
He's got to connect it with the latest thing somehow, some way.
Graduates who find themselves in the chilly job market, there's a threat of what feels like AI tools changing how we do software engineering. You've gone through a lot of...
Yeah, it's going to make things easier. Once people know that they can't get rid of software developers. Yeah, the juniors are kind of cooked because you got to get some skills up. I mean, to get the understanding, and they want to like do everything. They're telling you just skip that part. It's like, no, we still got to read the code. The code is still going to be written somehow, some way. That's the most easiest way for humans to do step-by-step stuff or a decision tree. Yes, with software code, that is a good bridge between us and the machine. We seem to be very comfortable with that. We've been working with it, so we can still use that stuff. But the visualization, some of that other stuff, like building out some of these things that we ask it for, like standard, like dashboards, like monitoring. Please be set up a monitoring for this and let me an alert. Yeah. And then go through and sweep out stuff that I don't need anymore. It doesn't make any sense. Or you're going to reconfigure. That kind of stuff would be awesome that AIs can be used for. Or in Android, like all the different version codes of all the versions of all the version numbers for all the different libraries. Have an AI figure all that stuff out. That takes hours and hours. You update the libraries like, oh, now that broke over here, and these throw the 3 over here, and now you updated, and they don't update, and then you go through the whole process and find out there's one at the end that you have to have, and then these things are all incompatible. You have to roll it all back and wait for that one to go forward. Then that's a lot of the work. It's not this coding. Oh, we're in UI and database access. Is like, no, this is freaking library management bullshit. It's like, and that has people just don't talk about. It's like, no, it's fine. You just have to get used to it.
Cycles of innovation and software engineering. What advice do you have for those starting out to set them up for a successful software engineering?
I'd say pick one platform like KMP, which I love KMP. Pick one, learn the language super well. Take my How to Program from the Ground Up course and learn vertically. Do not jump around. Learn one thing extremely well. Take a couple years and let the AI teach you and help you out with it. But you got to understand how it works. Don't let it write stuff for you, not understanding how it works. And go through that process until we have another platform, which I hope the Kotlin people put up their own phone system together, because now we're just working on top of the Android stuff. It's like, it's real crufty. It's getting kind of old. It's the same as iOS. We need to do something new brings those things together, a new universal thing, whatever. I'm sure it's coming because these platforms, they got to standardize at some point, because we're not going to write for 2 apps, 3 apps. KMP is showing we don't need to do that. So maybe at some point that'll happen.
Engineering career.
Indeed, when Copilot and
So that's what I say for juniors. And you're going to be studying for a couple years after college and to get this stuff work, because it's like the AI makes it so there's going to be less people that already know how to use the AI to make these applications. They've already gone through the whole process of knowing how these damn operating systems work and everything. And they're crazy. They all do the same damn shit in slightly different ways. And it's like annoying. So having used the AI to bridge that stuff is great, but you have to know one. You got to learn one first. But once you learn one, you can learn the other ones.
ChatGPT came out, I received a flood of messages from folks saying, my gosh, have I chosen the wrong career? Because you're not going to need developers at all. You will always need people who make informed decisions, no matter what the language
is. Yeah, with the computer, knowing the limitations of whatever the thing you're doing. You know the problem space and know that I'm in the machine, how to implement it with whatever the thing is to get the tool done, whether it's some telephone tree system or a mobile app or some web page. You have to learn the limitations of that stuff. And it's still written on that. We're still writing code to run on that stuff, which was not created in the most straightforward patterns. There's a lot of goofiness in all these things. That we need a good clean slate. This stuff is crufty and old. It's like 20, 25 years old. It's not, the operating system's 50. It's time to let's go, guys. I'm surprised it's taken this long until we haven't seen a new operating system, but I guess these companies are just too old and too big, and they're able to suck in anybody that has a threat to do that, to take them down and put them in a corner somewhere and get rid of them while they're still making money on these things.
Software engineering, again, is one of rising levels of abstraction. It's just that our tools have changed. I learned to program in assembly language. People today are going to be learning in programming with languages that are at a much higher level of abstraction. So the advice I'd give such folks is twofold. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. There's always going to be some...
You should worry and should be afraid, yes. No, don't tell them not to worry and not be afraid. No, but you're gonna have to you're gonna have to go deeper. So what the signaling is right now in the AI companies of the hype waves, like, oh no, well you don't have to do deeper. You don't even know any of that stuff. We'll do all that stuff for you. It's like, no. That's a kayfabe. Now the people who are going to use these tools to go deeper, yeah, but skipping over it, if you try to skip over it, you're gonna be in trouble. You're gonna have a hard problem. You're gonna make your life more difficult. You might as well take the hit. Take the hit and take the couple years and go deep into one of these things. And yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the dick, and yes, it always is. I don't know. But once you've done it once, then you're good, man. And if you're not willing to do it once, you're not. If you don't, what are you planning on doing this whole time? Just dicking around with prompting, trying to get the thing to prompt right? While you could maybe go fix it yourself if you actually knew how the stuff worked. Come on now.
Some really cool work for you to do there. And in fact, I would say it's quite the opposite. This is an exciting time because there is so
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
much opportunity, so many cool tools, so much computation.
So we just need the industry to come back online without thinking that they can get rid of software developers. You ain't getting rid of us, guys. I know you want to. Ooh, you want to, but you don't even want to learn how stuff works. So we're gonna take your lunch. That's what's gonna happen. You've laid off a bunch of people who've like learned these tools and go, you know what? I could probably do most of what I was doing at my other job and the other team, and I could maybe somehow. That's what's happening right now. So it's not really a lull. This is when new companies are created. These lull times. Oh, you're gonna see some disruption coming for these companies because you laid off a bunch of good people. You told them they were shitty and they're stupid and dumb, and you're gonna replace us with the AI. Come on.
Resources that in many ways you are limited only by your imagination. And so what I encourage people to do is to first learn as much as you can. Second, don't get
No, that's bad. That's bad advice. Not learn as much as you can. Go deep. Go deep into something. Build an app from about start to end, and build a couple of them, 3 of them, 4 of them. Copy somebody else. There's lots of courses. Just go all the way. Don't try and skip. Don't try and go faster. Spend your time, learn it. Go deep. First, learn a language. I recommend Kotlin, and then go learn a platform. I recommend Android, and because that's the hardest one. Once you got Android, iOS is going to be a breeze. Web is going to be not a problem. Well, I mean, depends what you're doing. But like you'll have the desktop, no problem. Like you'll be 80% of the way there because you've got the camp. You already know my spiel.
get stuck in just one domain. You need to become an expert in some space, but the world of computing is vast.
Just don't get stuck in one domain. No, definitely get stuck in one domain. Go deep. Take one domain, one language, one thing. Really goes along a couple years. So you're like, I kind of understand this, but I can make stuff because you already did. You already made a couple things, 3 things, and you just don't watch the thing. You actually type, and that way you learn all the things that goes through, how the things work, how things put together, and then you'll understand. And then the things that are gapped in the middle, you can have the AI teach you what those things are. Once you understand the patterns involved, how things put together, and how things are situated. But if you just think that the AI is going to do that stuff and you don't have to learn that stuff, that's where you're going to fuck up.
And so find some space that nobody's in right now and go make a name for yourself there.
Right. So you can hyper niche down. So I've already gone through my adventure-driven development series, and talked about this at length about the micro monopoly. You're going to hyper niche down. So, but you got to be in a niche to start with. You got to start somewhere.
Because there are lots of those kinds of places there for you. And the third thing I'd advise is go have some fun. I mean, my gosh, the toys we have at our disposal, they're amazing and wonderful and cheap. There's so much a single person can do.
Yeah, but these kids these days, man, these people that are, if you're getting into this stuff, you got to be focused in, man. You got to be locked in because you're competing with mid-level engineers who actually do know how these systems. They've already done this process of learning how these things work, and they're using the tools to leverage their skill up, right? They're taking the one skill they've learned and hyper niche down. You've gone deep into some system like Android, right, or a web, whatever, and then you're able to widen out. After you've gone up, you widen out this.
Low expense to go change the world. I'd like to also close.
I don't know about change the world. We can change your situation. Change the world. So that's the boomer. He's got you got to do the boomer. Change the world. Like no. How about just change your situation? Help a few people that you find that they're gonna be your customers. Take care of them. That's your world. Take care of that. And if you can do that very well, which is very hard. It's very difficult because there's all these competing things. Oh, you gotta do $1 billion. You gotta exit for $1 billion. It's like no. If you find your customers, take care of them. Find 1,000 customers. If you can find 10,000 customers, charge them $30 each. You're good.
Close by saying
$30 a month each. You're good. That's a goal. That's a worthy goal. That's 10,000 people you've improved the lives of. They're more than willing to spend $30 for whatever solution, for whatever problem that they have that you cared enough about to do a tool that helps them out. That's all this is. That's nothing to do with the IBM fellow. How many people have you actually helped? Real people on the ground that you can point to. Booch.
I'm not done yet either. I'm having a tremendous amount of fun. And in addition to the things I told you in studying,
and I appreciate your efforts with Sam Altman and Elon, telling them to cool it with their hype wave with this AI stuff.
And working with large language models, there are two projects that I'm engaged in that I've been working with for a long time now. The first is I've been trying to write a book on software architecture. I'm glad I did not write it because I know so much more.
Booch. There is no try. There is only do. Don't you know Yoda? There is no try, only do.
Now than I did before. And this is a different architecture book rather than saying, here's how you do it. I've been working with a number of companies to document their as-built architectures. So I'd like to put AlphaFold in it, Photoshop.
That's cool.
What's the architecture of Photoshop? What's the architecture of a climate monitoring system? What's the architecture of Wikipedia? So I'm trying to document the as-built architecture of people of systems that people use today that they may never have thought about. The idea being is that there are many different architectures.
Right, but remember, all these architectures, all this Photoshop stuff. These were all evolutionary processes, and not the classic scientific term. But so they tried something, and they tried something else. Like Photoshop 1, I was working at Silicon Beach Software. John Knoll came down and showed everybody Photoshop. It's a piece of shit. It was a piece of shit. Everything had to fit in RAM. It wasn't even color. It was black and white. I think he was trying to put color in. It was terrible. It was terrible. But look what happened. He did a version, and another version, another version, another version. And now it's a word that we all use to describe editing photos. But it was just a guy. He came up with a crappy program and he just kept iterating on it. And he didn't know it wouldn't at the time. It was extremely niche. Like who would know it? How do you get pictures in it? How do I get pictures out of it? Well, you got a scanner. It's like, so I gotta get another piece of hardware. And well, do I have to so you gotta get the photo, develop it, print it, bring it to the scanner, scan it, get in the computer, get all kinds of RAM. Those things people didn't know how to do. And now I can edit it. Now how do I get it out? Oh well. That's a whole other thing.
Natural styles. Let me expose you to them because you may have studied only one particular one. The world is a vast one. The second is,
and this is the Software Architecture's Guidebook, right?
Yeah, the Software Architecture Handbook, which my long-suffering editor has been patient with me for literally a decade now, and it's something I hope to finish.
A decade, dude. You're not getting any younger. Maybe you could take a break from the building robots for Mars filters and finish your book on architecture before it's moot. Dude.
Before I die. The second book is, I was on the board of trustees of the Computer History Museum for about 10 years. And
wow, you go all over the place, man. Boy, this guy, he's making robots. He's running museums.
New CEO, he came to me and said, he had been to PBS. We had a conversation and said, hey, John, why don't you do a documentary like Carl Sagan's Cosmos? He paused and said, well, Grady, why don't you be our Carl? And I said, I'm no Sagan, but that's an intriguing idea. So I've been on a journey to...
Oh my gosh. He fits the sci-fi, the space travel, NASA, robots, Mars. And now he's doing a new series based on computer architectures. It's just boring. It's like, unless it's your problem, it's like you don't really care how it's made. You just want the thing to work and run and deliver the service. It's so goofy. Let's keep going.
A documentary and I'm writing a book about computing and the human experience, which looks at the history of computing and what it means to be human. So I'm looking at what does computational thinking look like? How has computing changed the individual, society, nations? How has it changed science and the art and religion?
You mean these computing devices, communication devices? It's completely radically transformed our entire social culture. And the cultures that it's atomized us, it's made strangers from each other, made us hate each other. It was supposed to bring each other together. We all hate it. No, you don't pick a team, you're a bad person. You have to pick a political side. And if you say pick one that's not mine, you're not my friend anymore. It's destroyed the whole society. It's completely just devastated everything, unless you're at a high enough level where it doesn't touch you. Grady Booch, fellow at IBM, living in Hawaii, Maui.
And such. And ultimately,
it destroyed the culture. That's what the whole society is devastated. Anywhere where these things have gone is completely atomized people. Like people don't want to have kids anymore. People aren't dating. It's just gross what's happened. Booch, have you not seen what's happened?
They had asked the question, in the presence of computing, what does it mean to be human? So that's the
It means that we're under attack and we're getting eliminated left and right. Saying things, the machines are taking our jobs. I had a job last week, but now I don't. I was an artist, getting paid well. Now it's time now to have the computers doing art. You said it was going to change filters. Booch, you said the robots were going to change filters, not do my art for me.
the larger project I'm working on right now, which I hope to finish up also before I die.
And let's wrap up with some rapid questions. So I'm just going to ask and then just shoot. You don't need to think too much about it. What was the first
Oh, he doesn't need to think. That's a good thing. You got the right guy for not thinking too much about it.
programming language that you used?
Fortran.
Fortran. What project did you commit code most recently, and what language did you use in it?
Most recently, my own language, my own project.
Wait.
What project did you commit code most recently, and what language did you use in it?
Most recently, my own language, my own project self, Python.
Python. What do you do to recharge from doing software engineering related work?
I live in Maui. I wake up. That's enough.
Yep.
See? He doesn't know what happened to the society. He doesn't care. He's some Buffett. He's in an ivory tower. He doesn't have to concern himself with everyone losing their jobs and having shipped overseas. All that stuff in America.
Enviable place, and also answer. What are 2 books you would recommend for those who would like to understand more about software architecture?
Mary Shaw's book, Software Architecture. I'd read that one. Other books kind of pale in comparison, but I'd start there.
How about Alan Kay, man? Anything from Alan Kay? He's got shit on architecture. Like he's got the bead. How about Igor Buguyinko? His whole channel about software object-oriented programming and architecture and how to structure things. Great resource on how to structure what Alan Kay was talking about in a modern day language, Java, and something else, JavaScript. I think you could do it too.
Well, thank you very much, Grady, for being on the show. This was really interesting.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It was a pleasure.
And Pragmatic Engineer, go give him a like and subscribe, support his channel. He's doing great work. He doesn't do the hard hitting questions like I would. I would ask this guy so much. That's why I'll never interview him, because he'll look at this channel and go, no, not this guy. He's a wild man. All right, well, give me a like and subscribe, and that's the end of the series, and we'll be on to something else next. Talk to you later.